Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters. I'm your host, Mitch. Glad to have you here. Here at the Commander's Quarters, we're all about Commander on a budget. Today we have an episode of Commander's 2 Cents. On episodes like these, I give you my own personal take on topics about the format in general and current news. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. And while you're at it, subscribe and review our podcast as well. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support. Today we're going to tackle some of the jankiest or craziest combos in Commander. Now there are plenty of combos in Commander, some more powerful than others. There are some staple combo cards like Peregrine Drake or Protean Hulk, but you won't be seeing those here. In this list we've got some very off-the-wall combos that might not be the most powerful, but they are pretty fun. With these you can really take your opponents by surprise when they come out of nowhere. So first up, we've got the combo of Phage the Untouchable and Fractured Identity. Now for this combo, you will have to be in Esper colors to make it work. Phage the Untouchable is a 4/4 avatar minion that costs 3 black. When she enters the battlefield, if you didn't cast it from your hand, you lose the game. When Phage deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature, it can't be regenerated. And then whenever Phage deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. Now most of the time, that last part is how you're going to take other players out with Phage, but not in this case. And that's where the other piece of this combo comes in with Fractured Identity. It's a sorcery that costs 3 white. It says exile target non-land permanent. Each player other than its controller creates a token that's a copy of it. So this combo is very straightforward. All we have to do is get Phage into play and then cast Fractured Identity targeting it. Fractured Identity is going to exile our Phage, and then each opponent is going to get a copy of it. When those Phage copies come into play, its ETB is going to trigger. Since they obviously didn't cast those tokens of Phage from their hand, they lose the game. Now this combo obviously can be very powerful as it takes out all opponents at once. Just keep in mind that Phage is probably already going to be a big target when you cast her, but if you can protect her and cast the other half of this combo, you're good to go. A somewhat similar combo but in a smaller way is Demonic Pact and Harmless Offering. Demonic Pact is an enchantment that costs 2 black, and it says at the beginning of your upkeep, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Demonic Pact deals 4 damage to target creature or player and you gain 4 life. Target opponent discards 2 cards, draw 2 cards, or you lose the game. So obviously the first 3 of these choices are much better for you than the 4th. And then Harmless Offering is a sorcery that costs 2 and a red and says target opponent gains control of target permanent you control. Just a quick note, there are other cards like Harmless Offering that do the same or a similar thing. Anyways, the combo is very simple and straightforward and works like this. You're going to get Demonic Pact out and take advantage of the value that it's generating for you. 4 mana to deal 4 damage and gain 4 life, make someone else discard 2 cards and draw 2 cards is a fantastic deal. So obviously you're going to pick those 3 options first since you don't want to lose the game. After you've selected that 3rd option, you cast Harmless Offering to give it to a very unlucky opponent. At the beginning of their upkeep, there are no options left, so they have to choose you lose the game. No, those options do not reset when you exchange control, so they have to pick that last one. Now obviously this isn't one of the most powerful combos out there since it takes multiple turns to actually happen. On top of that, it's only taking out one opponent and it can be stopped or it can even lead to your own demise too. If someone counters your Harmless Offering, it might just be you losing the game instead. Still, it's a pretty unique way of taking someone out and a lot of fun when it actually happens. Next up, we've got a more immediate way of taking someone out with Tainted Remedy and Beacon of Immortality. Tainted Remedy is an enchantment that costs 2 and a black, and it says if an opponent would gain life, that player loses that much life instead. And then Beacon of Immortality is an instant that costs 5 and a white. It says double target player's life total, shuffle Beacon of Immortality into its owner's library. So how this combo works might be pretty obvious. When Tainted Remedy's on the field, if your opponents try to gain life, they're going to be losing it instead. So when you cast Beacon of Immortality targeting one of your opponents, it's going to make them lose as much life as the life that they have. If your opponent's at 20 life or 200 life, it doesn't matter. And for those of you wondering, yes, doubling a life total is technically gaining life. So this combo does take out one player at a time, but you can use it multiple times in a game. Again, Beacon of Immortality shuffles back into your library, so there's a chance you can get it again. And being able to take out one player for 6 mana at instant speed is a fantastic deal. But now let's move on to our next combo, which is probably considered less friendly by most people. And this combo involves Enchanted Evening and Calming Verse. So in order to actually use this combo, you'll have to be in Bant. Anyways, here's how it works. Enchanted Evening is an enchantment that costs 3 Azuri. It says all permanents are enchantments in addition to their other types. So this includes all permanents that all players control, including lands. The second part of the combo comes with Calming Verse. It says destroy all enchantments you don't control, then if you control an untapped land, destroy all enchantments you control. So this combo is pretty easy to figure out. You get Enchanted Evening in play, and then you cast Calming Verse, making sure that you tap all your lands when you do so. This way you're destroying all of your opponent's enchantments and not your own. And again, since all of your opponent's permanents are enchantments, all of them get destroyed. And that even includes lands. A one-side complete board wipe that takes out even lands is going to be impossible to recover from. It's not the friendliest of combos, but it is extremely effective. Just a quick note, I'm trying to keep most of these combos be pretty budget, and yes, Enchanted Evening is pretty expensive, but it's a fun combo, so I put it in. But now let's move on to our next not-so-friendly combo with Excavation and Worst Fears. Excavation is an enchantment that costs 1 and a blue, and it has pay 1, sacrifice a land, draw a card. Any player may activate this ability. Now this card can help your opponents out in the right situation, but it can also really hurt them when you have something like Worst Fears. Worst Fears is a sorcery that costs 7 and a black. It says you control target player during that player's next turn, exile Worst Fears. There are other cards that work in this slot as well, like Mindslaver or any card that gains control of target player's turn. Anyways, once you gain control of that player's turn, you've got an easy decision to make. You can attack with their creatures into bad situations, but at the end of the turn, you want to make sure that you do one thing. You're going to tap all their lands for mana and then sacrifice all those lands with Excavation. They might not see it this way, but you're really helping them out. Card draw on Commander is very important, so yeah, the more cards the better, right? On a serious note though, yes, they'll have a full hand, but they're going to lose every single one of their lands. And from that spot, it's going to be pretty much impossible for them to come back. A slightly more potent combo though might come with Natural Affinity and Azuri's Predation. Natural Affinity is an instant that costs 2 and a green. It says until end of turn, all lands become 2/2 creatures and they're still lands. When we make everyone's lands creatures, we make them a lot more vulnerable to removal. So that's when we cast something like Azuri's Predation. It's a sorcery for 5 green. And it says for each creature your opponents control, put a 4/4 green beast creature token onto the battlefield. Each of those beasts fights a different one of those creatures. So basically, for each and every single creature our opponents control on the board, we get a 4/4 beast and it fights that creature. And yes, thanks to Natural Affinity, that includes their lands. So each of those 2/2 lands are going to get fought and killed by a 4/4 beast. So basically, at the end of the day, we're going to destroy all of our opponents' lands and be left with a giant army of beasts. Now, to pull this combo off, you will need 11 mana. But for a mono green deck, that won't be a problem. Mass land destruction in a mono green deck. Who knew? Speaking of which, let's move on to our next combo with Liquid Metal Coating and Splinter. Liquid Metal Coating is an artifact that costs 2, and we can tap it and target permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types until end of turn. And then Splinter is a sorcery for 2 green. It says exile target artifact, search its controller's graveyard, hand, and library for all cards with the same name as that artifact and exile them, then that player shuffles their library. Because Commander is a singleton format, Splinter doesn't really see any play in Commander. But Liquid Metal Coating can make this much more effective. By tapping it, we can turn one of our opponent's basic lands into an artifact. Say for example that we target a mountain with this. Now that mountain is also an artifact. We cast Splinter targeting that artifact mountain. We're exiling that mountain as well as any mountains that are in their hand, library, or graveyard. They won't be getting any more mountains throughout the game. Against a monocolor deck, this can be especially brutal. A combo that works in a very similar way is Lifespark Spellbomb and Eradicate. Lifespark Spellbomb is an artifact that costs 1. By paying a green, you can sacrifice it until end of turn, target land becomes a 3/3 creature that's still a land. And then by paying 1 and sacrificing Lifespark Spellbomb, you draw a card. So this is kind of like a small version of Natural Affinity, turning 1 land into a creature. Keep in mind that there are obviously other cards that can do this as well. And the other half of the combo is Eradicate, which is a sorcery for 2 black. It says exile target non-black creature, search its controller's graveyard, hand, and library for all the cards with the same name as that creature, move them from the game, then that player shuffles their library. This combo works in basically the same way. You turn that land to a creature, then you cast Eradicate targeting that land. Again, for example, if that land's a mountain, you're going to be exiling that mountain as well as any mountains in their graveyard, hand, or library. Next up, we've got a combo in Simic with Plagiarize and the Great Aurora. Plagiarize is an instant for 3 and a blue. It says until end of turn, if target player would draw a card, instead that player skips that draw and you draw a card. So for this combo to work, you need to cast both these spells in the same turn, and you have to cast Plagiarize first. So the Great Aurora is the second spell that you're casting, and it's a sorcery for 6 green. It says each player shuffles all the cards from their hand and all permanents they own into their library, then draws that many cards. Each player may put any number of land cards from their hand onto the battlefield, exile the Great Aurora. So basically, everyone's supposed to shuffle up all their cards, including the ones in play, draw a lot of cards, and then put lands into play. Plagiarize is going to stop one player from drawing any cards, and you get to draw those cards instead. So essentially you're leaving one player with absolutely nothing, not a card in their hand or a permanent in play. And you get to draw a lot more cards than you would have been drawing. This can be a very powerful effect, but keep in mind that this is going to cost you a total of 13 mana in one turn. But again, as a Simic deck with access to green, it's definitely something that you can do. Our next combo actually involves a commander with Gerard, Golgari Lichlord, and Wall of Blood. Gerard is a 2/2 zombie elf that costs black, green. It gets +1/+1 for each creature in your graveyard. By paying 1 black and a green and sacrificing another creature, each opponent is going to lose life equal to the sacrificed creature's power. And then by sacrificing a swamp and a forest, you can return Gerard from your graveyard to your hand. So if we can sacrifice a creature big enough, Gerard can take out all of our opponents at once. And that's where Wall of Blood comes into play. It's a 0/2 wall with Defender that costs 2 and a black. It has pay 1 life, Wall of Blood gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So basically, as long as we've got more life than our opponents, we win. Let's say that our life total is 40 and all of our opponents are at 39. We pay 39 life to make Wall of Blood into a 39/41. We then pay our 1 black green and sacrifice Wall of Blood to make each opponent lose 39 life. Now this obviously can be a high risk, high reward play, but it's a lot of fun when it happens. Another high risk, high reward combo comes from Phyrexian Unlife, Mischievious Poltergeist, and Repay in Kind. Phyrexian Unlife is an enchantment for 2 and a white, and it says you don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. It says as long as you have 0 or less life, all damage is dealt to you as though its source had infect. Mischievious Poltergeist is a 1/1 ghost with flying that costs 2 and a black, and you can regenerate it by paying 1 life. There are actually other cards that can work for this as well, including Wall of Blood. And the final piece of the combo is Repay in Kind, which is a sorcery for 5 black, and it says each player's life total becomes the lowest life total among all players. So the combo works like this. You have Phyrexian Unlife and your Poltergeist in play. Just before your turn, you pay all the life that you have, setting your life total to exactly 0. You don't die because Phyrexian Unlife says you don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. Then you cast Repay in Kind, setting everyone's life total to 0. You might be able to survive with 0 life thanks to Phyrexian Unlife, but your opponents won't be able to. This combo can take everyone out at once by taking them all by surprise. The final combo we're going to be going through today is pretty janky, but pretty funny. It involves Bronze Bombshell, Endless Whispers, and Altar of Dementia. Bronze Bombshell is a 4/1 construct that costs 4. It has whenever a player other than its owner controls it, that player sacrifices it. If the player does, Bronze Bombshell deals 7 damage to them. Endless Whisper is an enchantment that costs 2 black. It says each creature has, when this creature is put into the graveyard from play, choose target opponent. That player puts this creature card from that graveyard into play under their control at the end of the turn. And the final piece of this combo is any kind of a free sacrifice outlet like Altar of Dementia. Basically, the combo works like this. Sacrifice Bronze Bombshell at the end of the turn, Endless Whispers lets us give it to target opponent. When it comes into play under their control, they have to sacrifice it and deal 7 damage to them. At the end of the turn, they have to give it to someone else. If they give it back to us, we'll just sacrifice it with the altar again. Now again, this is a pretty slow combo, but it's pretty janky and fun. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your favorite janky or crazy combo is. And make sure you're following us on social media for more updates and sneak peeks on future episodes. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons who help make this show possible. I truly couldn't do any of this without your support. If you want to support this channel directly, consider becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, including being able to vote on future commanders for deck techs. There are even tiers where you get your own personalized deck tech dedicated to you. You can check out all the Patreon tiers and rewards at patreon.com/commandersquarters. If you haven't already, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Here at the Commander's Quarters, we're all about budget commander. So while you're at it, go ahead and check out some of our other types of episodes. And with that, I'm out of here. Thanks again and have a good one.